If you're looking for easy subtraction strategies for your GCSEs, then you've come to the right place. You can do as much or as little as you like with all of these videos, so if you want to watch the tutorials alone, that's absolutely fine, or grab yourself something to write with and on, and you can have a go at some questions for yourself and practice as we go through. If you need a moment longer to pause the video to read through the task board so you can see what's coming up, then please do that now, otherwise we're going to jump right in. It isn't always necessary to use a written method when you are subtracting numbers, particularly if the numbers you are working with are small, often single-digit numbers. For example, if you wanted to do 9 subtract 4, we wouldn't need to use a written method for this. We can count in our head, we can count on our fingers, or we can count along a ruler. For example, if I know I'm going to subtract 4, I can put 4 fingers up ready. I can say I've got the 9 in my head, and I'm going to use my fingers to help me count back 4. So 9 in my head, 8, 7, 6, 5. Remembering I'm counting down because it's a subtraction, I'm taking 4 away. And this method will work as long as we are subtracting a number that is no more than 10 if I'm counting on my fingers, because I've only got 10 fingers. But it doesn't matter what this number at the start is. This number could be bigger. For example, I could have 36, and let's say I'm going to subtract 8, because I can put up 8 fingers. And so if I say I'll put the 36 in my head and then count down 35, 34, 33, 32, 31, 30, 29, 28. I count back on each of the 8 fingers I held up until I've counted for all of them, and that gets me to 28. If you are subtracting a number up to 30, you can use your ruler, but as we saw in the addition strategies, sometimes it does become quicker to just use a written method if you don't want to have to count all the way along. So it will be up to you and depend on how confident you are as to when you move away from a counting method and you feel more comfortable using a written method. But we can subtract any number up to 30 because we've got 30 places on our ruler, so that's how many we can count up to. So for example, we could do 45 take away 12. So I can find 12 along my ruler, that's here, so that tells me how many spaces I've got to count. I'm going to say 45 in my head and count down 44, 43, 42, 41, 40, 39, 38, 37, 36, 35, 34, 33 would be my answer. And it's really important not to fixate on these numbers themselves. These are just little markers to help you count down. So I don't need to worry that this is an 8 when I'm counting there, or this is a 9. I just need to know it's 12 places that I'm counting. And that got me to 33. Likewise, if I wanted to subtract a bigger number, I can go all the way up to subtracting 30. So if I had 112 and I wanted to take away 23, I find 23 on my ruler and I'm going to count down by that many. And as you can see, it takes a bit longer when you've got more to take away. So you'll have to decide for yourself when this method isn't as efficient as using a written method. But if I've got my 112 in my head and I'm counting back 23, 112, 111, 110, 109, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 would be 100, 99, 98, 97, 96, 95, 94, 93, 92, 91, 90, 89. And so my answer to that question would be 89. As you move towards larger numbers, counting strategies aren't as efficient because they start to take a long time. This question, for example, we could subtract 24 by counting along our ruler, because there are 30 spaces on our ruler if we wanted to count back. So we've got enough room to do it. However, as you become more confident, you may find that the counting strategy becomes a little bit tiresome if you have to count for that many digits. And moving into a written method will help you speed things up. I will always suggest using the column method, just as I did with addition, because I think it's the simplest and most efficient method, and it minimises the chance of getting confused or missing something out. When we do subtraction, we must ensure that we first of all begin with the number at the start of the calculation. That might seem really obvious, but in addition, you can swap the order of the numbers around and it doesn't make a difference. In subtraction, we have to keep the order the same so that the value you are taking away, in this case 24, goes on the bottom. So we are in fact taking away 24 from the 86. Notice I've put my subtraction sign in, so I indicate to the examiner what operation I'm doing, and I've given myself space for the answer. I've lined up my place value columns, so the tens are all in line and the ones are all in line. And as with addition, we're going to start from the smallest place value, so the ones, and work our way towards the bigger place value. So I'll do the ones first, and then the tens, and then the hundreds if I had any, and so on. Beginning at the ones, I would say to myself, 6 take away 4. Now, you can use one of your counting methods if you're not confident yet, so I could say 6 in my head, counting back 4 would be 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. So I will put 2 there. And likewise, then moving into the tens column, 8 take away 2, if you need a counting method you can use it, is 6. And so the answer to my question is 62. Here's a question for you to have a go at. I'll go straight into the solution, so if you pause the video now and hit play when you're ready to see the answer. So we've got 78 subtract 52. And when you set this question up, hopefully you set it up exactly the same as I did, aligning your place value columns so the tens are all aligned, the ones are all aligned, and you've indicated at the side that it's a subtraction that we are doing. Starting at the ones, I've got 8 take away 2, which is 6. And moving into the tens, 7 take away 5, which is 2. And so my answer to this question would be 26. Well done if you got that one right. For this next question, we do have to be extra careful with how we align our place value columns. What we do not want to see is 127 and take away 59 like this. The 5 in 59 is in the tens, so we need to ensure that's underneath our tens in 127, which would be the 2. And we need the 9 in 59 in our ones in the ones column, which is the 7 in 127. So we're going to cross that out because that's not correct, and we're going to ensure we line it up correctly. So 127 take away 59. Indicating my subtraction to one side and providing myself with an answer space to set me up. Beginning in the ones, we can see we've got 7 take away 9, and a really common mistake that we see people make is they go, well, I can't do 7 take away 9 without going into negatives, so I'll just do 9 take away 7, and they would put 2 there. That's not the number that goes there. That's not how we do it. We can't just swap them round. We have to calculate this correctly. And so instead, what we would do is we would acknowledge 7 take 9, we can't do that. And so we move into the next place value column and we borrow 1 from there. If I borrow 110, that would leave 110 in the tens column because I had 2, but I've borrowed 1, so that leaves me with 110. And I would move that 10 into the ones column. So that number now is 17 because it's a 10. And the 7 that was already there would be 17. And now I can say to myself, what's 17 take away 9? And if you need to, you can do your 17 in your head, have your 9 fingers and count back. So I've got 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. And so you can see, actually, it wasn't a 2 there, it was an 8. And the same thing happens again when I move into my tens column. I'm saying 1 take away 5. I can't do that So I'll move into the next place value column and borrow 1, leaving 0 hundreds, but I've moved that one lot of 100 into the tens column, so now it's like 11. 11 take away 5 is 6, that I can do, so the answer to this question would be 68. Once again, I'll pop one on the screen for you to have a go at, and I'll be doing the answer straight away, so pause the video and then hit play when you want to see the solution. Okay, so let's make sure first of all we align these values correctly. 153 take away 75. And what you will have recognised is that we cannot do 3 take away 5, so we've got to borrow. So if I take one of these tens away, that will leave 4 of them behind, and I'll put the 1 and make that number 13. 13 take away 5 is 8, and once again 4 take away 7 we can't do, so I'll borrow 1, and 14 take away 7 is 7. And so our answer to this question is 78. Well done if you got that one right. And we can also apply this same method to decimals, which is why I always suggest using the column method, because it doesn't matter what sort of numbers you're working with, whether they're integers or decimals, you can still apply the same method, so it saves you having to learn lots of different methods for different types of numbers. So we've got 63.6 minus 41.02. And when we are subtracting decimals, the thing we need to ensure we've lined up is the decimal point. And I'm even going to put one in my answer space, just so I've got everything set up and just so everything's in the right place for when I do my answer. Now, once again, a common mistake I see is in this first column on the right, which is our hundredths column. I see people saying, well, I've got nothing on the top and I've got 2 on the bottom, so that must just be 2. Because there's nothing there, there's nothing to do. And that's not correct. It isn't just 2, because we're actually subtracting 2 from what is essentially an invisible 0. By popping that 0 there, we call that a placeholder. I haven't changed the value of that top number. I've just made it so I can see what I'm subtracting from. And then, as you'll be able to see, if I now go to carry out the subtraction as I have been doing this entire time, I would say to myself, 0 take away 2, I can't do that, and so I've got to borrow 1. So I'll borrow 1 from the next column, which is the tenths column, and bring it into the hundredths column. And now you can see 10 take away 2 is 8. So now you can see how I filled in that 2 in red before. That would have been wrong because it's clearly 8. 5 take away 0, that's 5. Moving over the decimal point into our ones, 3 take away 1 is 2, and 6 take away 4 is 2. And so our answer is 22.58. Once again, last one, here's one for you to have a go at, and as with the others, I'll be putting the solution up straight away, so pause the video until you need to see it. We have got 58.2 minus 31.06, and I'm popping my decimal point in there ready just so I ensure my answer ends up in the right place. And to make my calculation slightly easier to understand, I'm going to pop that placeholder there just so I don't make any sort of mistakes. Starting in the hundredths column, I've got 0 take 6, which I know I can't do, so I'm going to cross that out and borrow 1 from the tenths column. And now I'm doing 10 take away 6, which is 4. 1 take away 0 is 1. Moving over the decimal point into my ones column, 8 take away 1 is 7. And 5 take away 3 is 2. So the answer to this question is 27.14. We're going to move into some multiple choice questions now. So the answers will appear on the screen. I do use a countdown on these as it does help to keep some people engaged, but if that doesn't work for you, feel free to pause the video so you can have some more time. Your first question is 45 take away 12, and here are your options. And the correct answer for this one is 33. Well done if you said B or 33, that would be correct. Here is your next one. 251 take away 73. Remember to write something down to help you out using that method we've just looked at. The correct answer is B again, 178. Well done if you got that one. Moving into some decimals now, take care when you line these ones up. 12.4 take away 6.8. Here are your options. The answer was A, 5.6. And one more, 563.95, take away 145.61, and your options are on the screen. And if you got this one correct, D, 418.34, a big well done. We are now going to move to some independent practice. If you would like to just ensure you've got this skill secured, there are 8 questions on the screen for you to have a go at, and I will pop the answers on in a moment so you can check you're doing it right. So if you would like to take part in this part of the lesson, just pause the video to give yourself time and press play when you're ready to see the answers. And here are the answers to those 8 questions, so you are able to go through and check that you got those right. If there's anything you didn't get correct, just go back and double check your working out, and you can always rewatch the tutorial parts of this video if you want to. Well done for joining me for this lesson and giving yourself your best chance for your GCSEs. If there was anything you were unsure of in this lesson, please feel free to ask down in the comments. We do aim to answer every single question that is related to the content in the video. Ensure you're subscribed for more video lessons as well as other revision tips and strategies. And if you prefer shorter form content such as quizzes and revision tips, you can also find us over on TikTok and Instagram. I'm Charlotte, and thank you for watching this video.